Welcome back to Africa Speaks. We have about 30 minutes on the clock to inform you what's going on around the world, regionally, and of course locally. And we'll be taking you to the ICC, where the trial of lawyer Paul Gicheru is currently underway. Away from that, let's come back to the studio. Between the year 2015 and 2019, at least 1,323 human rights defenders across the globe were killed, with many others being physically assaulted and tortured, with more others being forcefully disappeared, while others are arrested, detained, and even presented before the court over fictitious accusations. Now, journalists are also human rights defenders. Between 2010 and 2019, the Office of the High Commission for Human Rights documented 900 deaths of journalists globally. This is part of the reason the Network of Africa National Human Rights Institutions are holding a continental symposium right here in the capital of Nairobi to take stock of the situation of the human rights defenders in Africa. And joining me to discuss some of the issues is Gilbert Sebihogo, the Executive Director of the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions. Thank you so much, Gilbert, for joining us this afternoon on KTN News and on Africa Speaks. I guess, paint the picture for us, what 1,323 deaths mean and 900 journalists mean. Try and paint that picture for us.
Thank you very much for having me in this studio. Actually, it means a lot. It means a lot, not only in terms of figures, because even if one person is killed, it's a problem. It's a problem especially when they are fighting for the rights. Of course, we don't have accurate figures of human rights defenders and even journalists killed because of the work they do. Why? Because it's difficult to get the statistics. The people collecting the figures, the numbers, are facing also challenges. Challenges not only based on the situation on the ground, but also based on people who are supposed to facilitate the collection of the data. Including, of course, the violators of human rights themselves, which sometimes are states and non-state actors.
So they sit on this information?
Yeah, they sit on the information, and that's why now the Network of African National Human Rights Institutions, which the global, the regional continental body of national human rights institutions is coming in now to see how they can also fill the gap and help to collect data.
So tell me something, the numbers that you have that are projected in reports, these are the numbers from reported and documented cases, not other cases that have never been documented and reported. And do you suspect these numbers could be a little more higher than they are being reported?
They could be higher. They could be higher because there are defenders who are killed in areas where it's difficult to access, for example. And there are many reasons. Many reasons for that.
I'll talk about the reasons, but classify for us this afternoon the defenders. Who are these human rights defenders?
Human rights defenders, according to the declaration, the UN Declaration on Human Rights Defenders, it's anyone who work for the promotion and protection of human rights. It could be an individual, it could be an association, an organization, but as long as they work for the promotion and protection of human defenders, and if they identify themselves as human defenders, they are human defenders.
Okay. So I saw one of the people that have been mentioned specifically are civil societies, NGOs, and journalists. Perhaps the best question at this point is, why are they targeted? Why are these people targeted?
They are targeted because of the work they do. They demand accountability, they demand good governance, participation, and all that make that they are targeted and being labeled as enemies or opponents. So it's not only about civil society organizations, journalists, even state actors can also be human rights defenders. We have tried to do a kind of assessment on the situation of human defenders in some countries. We made a study that actually targeted 9 countries on the continent, and the way they implement the Marrakesh Declaration. Actually, this declaration was adopted in Marrakesh in 2018 based on the issue of shrinking civic and democratic space and violation of the right of women defenders. So we did the study and targeting, of course, some state actors who also work on human defenders.
Okay.
Take, for example, the police services. Some of them were doing work of human defenders, implementing the Marrakesh Declaration without knowing that they're human defenders. Of course, when it comes to civil society organizations and other human defenders, it's obvious. So, and that's why we organized the symposium to look into the situation of human defenders. They applied because they are targeted, and see how we can better support the states to implement the Marrakesh Declaration.
I'll talk about the Marrakesh Declaration when we close the show, plus this Continental Symposium. But some of the reasons that you have spoken about, and also you've spoken about the reasons why they're being targeted. I want to bring a case in point where people just disappear. People just disappear. We don't know where they are. We don't know who's taken them. We don't know who's holding them. Is this part of what you're concerned about?
Absolutely. It's one of the issues that actually triggered the violation of human defenders. Enforced disappearances, judicial harassment, extrajudicial killings, even the fact that they're labeled as terrorists, for example. Some laws are used to silence human defenders and make them terrorists, which is not true. So, enforced disappearance is one of them, of course, and all other factors that we have identified. It could be also some social and economic factors also. We have numbers of people who have been killed because of fighting for social and cultural rights.
Now that this is happening, has it diminished the inbuilt will for human rights defenders to operate in this space, or increasingly they're becoming afraid and retreating?
Unfortunately, it's not diminishing. Civic and democratic space is shrinking, and human rights defenders are actually forced to either leave the country, either being killed or disappear. So, and of course, this is why we are here to advocate for more support for human defenders, especially when it comes now, you know, what is happening across Africa. There is armed conflict, for example, where human defenders working in those conflict zones, they're disappearing. They've been killed, including journalists, of course.
So what kind of support will this be? From states, state actors, non-state actors?
Yes, especially state actors, because actually the primary responsibility to promote and protect human rights lies to states.
Lies to the states,
Because they want to go and ratify instruments. They're the one to go and put in place other mechanisms, but they should make sure that these mechanisms work properly.
So to what extent has the Marrakesh Declaration, especially the part that it expands the space for civil society, how far has it been implemented with these state actors that ratified that declaration?
It has been implemented, but not at the level that we wish it should be. And that's why we are trying to advocate for it. And again, if you look at what the network is supporting with, of course we are trying to work on the improvement of the legal framework, just to make sure that the working environment for human defenders is conducive. We are also training state actors like the police forces, just to make sure that whenever they handle human rights issues, they have to take into account the issue of human rights defenders. And of course, we are also trying to come up with some national legislations. And of course, we have produced also some other tools that will help the states to better implement the Marrakesh Declaration.
Okay. And as we end, talk to us about this symposium, who are attending, and what you want to achieve with it at the end of the day.
The symposium is attended by national human rights institutions. I don't know whether you have the knowledge of national institutions. These are actually state institutions established to promote and protect human rights in their respective jurisdictions. So this is across the continent. We have 46 national institutions. We have also invited a number of civil society organizations on the continent, prominent one. We have invited also state actors, including the government of Kenya, because it was part of the study we did last year, including the government of Tanzania, and of course, the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human defenders, and the Special Rapporteur on the situation of human defenders and focal point for reprisal in Africa. And all of those are discussing to see how we can better promote human rights work, of course, based on the plight of women defenders and the implementation of Marrakesh Declaration.
Okay, great. Gilbert, thank you so much for coming for our show. Unless you have a parting shot on the same? Okay, yeah. Unless you have a parting shot. As Gilbert Sebihogwe is Executive Director, Network of African National Human Rights Institution. There's a continental symposium currently underway, and this is just to talk about the rights of human rights. This is the rights of human rights defenders. All right.
The right
now they're
to help them do their work
better. Right, especially with the state and non-state actors. Thank you, Gilbert, for speaking to us this afternoon. All right.